Michael Benhayon is a talented young musician, songwriter and producer from northern New South Wales, Australia. At the age of 20, he formed the band Glorious Music, and in the 3 years following, he has released 6 albums, including a range of genres, with Michael himself composing and playing all musical tracks. Through Glorious Music, he also provides services creating customised music for film and advertising. So you're in your full-time job, you work in complementary health. Can you tell us a bit about what you find the relationship to be between music and your day job?
I often think about this a lot, and what I think about is appreciating how what I do in my day job does contribute a lot to how I am with my music, and it's actually taught me a lot about how to be with music. What I live and what I bring to that treatment room is going to be what that person receives. And so everything I live, everything I bring is what they're going to get. So I've just literally taken that approach to life and that approach to my profession into music. And it's proven to be something quite unique and powerful about the music that I produce and bring. And that is that it has true energetic quality in it. And so the music, when you listen to it, it isn't lacing you with anything. Because I certainly would not come to working as a complementary health practitioner. I certainly would not come in the room loaded with stuff and loaded with emotions to even there trying to help someone to surrender or relax or be still in their body. So if I come loaded with stuff, then it's very hard for them to connect. So the key is for me to come as least as imposing as I can. And taking that approach with music has been a very, very unique, powerful thing.
You were young when you started music. What advice would you now give to up-and-coming musicians?
The advice I would give would not be so much advice, but more just a sharing that from my experience and from what I've learned playing instruments and growing up since 13, playing instruments and teaching myself instruments, is that the best way to go about music that I have found is to don't see music as this big thing. Don't see music as this thing that you need to make it big in, or even if you wish to make it big, even if you wish to make a career out of it, if you make it bigger than everything else in your life, then I can tell you now that it does leave you very empty inside. And I had a lot of friends who you could say were on par with me when I started, and they also were starting around the same time, and noticing and watching the way they were with their music and the contrast of how I approached it is very different these days, when those guys are not doing so well in the rest of their life. And sure, you know, they are completely brilliant at performing and playing their instrument, but the moment they're off that stage, it's not always a happy sight. And so if you make your music and playing instruments the epitome of everything, then you're going to have to keep trying to sustain that. And so anything that comes along that offers you success in that and offers you, you know, to grow that epitome from being a small thing to being a large thing on a world scale, you end up being more likely to sell yourself out in that process. Whereas the way I've learnt it and the way I've approached it is make it a part of my life, make it something that's inclusive of my life, and making sure that it doesn't own or govern how I live. And that way it leaves me very free to go in the studio and produce the music that I do. And, you know, the way I look at it is that I can't necessarily say that the volume of music that's come out is something that I could do if I made music everything. Because even as dedicated as I am when I'm playing music, if I made it everything, then music becomes the dictation of my life, where I've learned a lot through life and with life, being in life, and that has helped my music.
Absolutely. I mean, you see these artists and they come out with their first album and they've packed everything into it. And then there's like this pressure for them to produce their second one. And often it'll be years have passed and they haven't released another album because they're trying so hard for it to be everything again. And it's almost like they had life experience to put in the first one. They were still living their life simultaneously to being a musician, to playing music. As soon as they were pinned with the label musician, it's like this invisible pressure that comes on them to make that everything. And they actually produce less, even though they're doing that full time. So, yeah, it's very interesting. That balance seems to be really important.
Yeah, it is. It's, like I said, it's a really big part of the way I approach music. Mm-hmm. And, there's not many artists out there that have albums that they're holding back from releasing. And even when I had 3 done, the next 2 were already half written. And when I released the 4, the 5th one was already mostly on its way. And now this one's out. I've already recorded and sung and produced, I think, 7 of the next tracks on the next album. And this is on top of all of the music that I do for the advertising and creating specifically customized tunes to suit and tailored videos for companies and businesses. And
yeah, because I've been working on a film project and we've rung you up and we've said we need you to score this video. We need music for it. We've got about 4 days to and you've just been no problem. Like it just seems to come quite easily.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. There's absolutely no struggle when I sit down to play. When I sit down to write, lyrics, music, whatever it is, there's absolutely no struggle there. Because the way music comes is it doesn't necessarily come to me as always as a tune. It doesn't always come as a piece of words or a string of words that I want to sing about. Sometimes it'll just come, sometimes if I'm just sitting in a chair or if I'm at work or things like that. As an example, even though I know what the next album or the next song I'm going to write is maybe going to be about or have on it, I can't say I know that on a tune level, so I'm not looking to create a specific sound as such. I just know the feeling of what the song needs to have or the next one needs to be. And so I work very much in that way. And then when I get in the studio, as I said, it's not really about having to create that sound that I wanted to create or that sound I heard or that thing that I wanted. It was simply about connecting back to that feeling and then just producing whatever's there. And I can tell you now that trying to get the sound that I think I want, it doesn't work. I've tried that. And something I often sit back and appreciate as well is that the vast array of genres that I have performed and produced are not things that in my head or things I grew up with. They're not things in my head that I think, I really like that genre, I'm going to make something like that. It just seems to be there. And I never listened to that kind of genre growing up, and I never listened to that. I don't listen to that genre now, but it seems to all be there.
Well, you never listened to gypsy music much, did you? But you found that that came to you at the appropriate time. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah,
the latest documentary.
Yeah, there's a friend I had who's a film director and shooting a documentary. I won't tell too much of the detail, but essentially, it's about Jewish culture and how they've been affected by the Holocaust and how that throughout the generations is still affecting them. It wasn't just that first generation, the second generation and the third and the fourth, all of that is still being affected. It's still running through. And so that documentary, of course, required music to fit that kind of genre, you know, gypsy music and Jewish style music. And so, yeah, I've never ever heard or listened or played. And I have this great story of when I sat down to play music for the film and the documentary. I just remember picking up my guitar and just getting a feel that guitar was needed. And so as I plugged my guitar in and pressed record, I found my hand changing position and turning on the side to pluck the notes and play the notes differently than I had ever done before. And the sound it was producing was exactly what was needed for that gypsy style music. And the film director, he's very, very, he likes his authentic music. And so there was a slight hesitation sending it off to him because I wasn't sure how he was going to take it, but he just absolutely loved it and just loved how it fitted in the film.
Wow. Thanks for talking to us today, Michael.
Thank you, Rebecca.